In this video, we're going to be checking out another mic activator, mic booster, or inline preamp, whatever you prefer to call them. This one is from a new company, I believe they're a new company, called VeeleiZ, and it's called the VeeleiZ Mica. And I have it currently plugged into the SM7B and running into my Rodecaster Pro. So this video, we'll be taking a look at this one in particular, but also comparing it to the other mic boosters that I have. I have the Coda MB Stealth, Kark Teknik CM1, and the Cloudlifter CL1. In this video, I'm going to give you a sound sample of each one, and then also just kind of live on camera show you how much gain they can provide using the Rodecaster Pro and the SM7B. I would encourage you, if you're really interested, to listen to this video, watch this video with headphones on, because if you're not really going to hear any difference. I'm not going to do any post-processing to the audio at all. There's no processing on in the Rodecaster. The master compressor's off. All the other effects are off. I will show you how I boost the audio in post to get it to be loud enough for you in YouTube. You'll see everything that I do, and that'll be that. They sent this mic activator to me, but I am not obligated to even make a video, and they're not going to see it before I publish it. VeeleiZ, it's kind of an interesting name. It's meant to sound like we lazy. And if you go onto their website, they mention that they're slightly lazy. I don't know, kind of a weird company, and it sounds like a relatively small outfit. I'm not going to really talk about which one I think is the best and which one I think sounds the best. I'm not sure if I'm qualified to do. I've done that in the past, but I'm not going to do that in this video. So I just want to give you kind of an objective sampling of all of these different mic boosters. And then if you're interested in them and if you do need one, then you can kind of decide for yourself which one would be best for you. So that's all out of the way. Let's go ahead and take a look at the levels that I'm getting here. What I'm going to show you here is when you're setting up your microphone, you go to microphone, dynamic, and then make sure audio processing is off, and you go to your level. You're going to want to turn phantom power on because these mic activators, all of them do require phantom power to power the mic activator, but they're not providing any power to the microphone because dynamics don't take power. They don't need power. What I'm looking at here is just this input level. If I'm solidly in that green zone, then I'm going to consider like that's an appropriate level to set. Running the VeeleiZ Mica, I have the input level set to 30. So that'll be the baseline, I guess, and we'll just compare that with the other mic activators. Testing 1, 2, check 1, 2. Here we go. Okay. So without a mic activator to get my, I guess, average level back to where it was with the VeeleiZ, that's 50. So the VeeleiZ was able to drop the amount of gain by 20 dB. So this is, again, the Shure SM7B with no mic activator running into the Rodecaster Pro. Phantom power is, of course, off, and our level is now at 50 dB. And, oh, you know what I should have done? Noise floor. Damn it. Okay, we're going to go back to the VeeleiZ here in a second, but I'm going to be quiet for a few seconds and we'll just kind of listen to the amount of noise. You might be hearing the HVAC system outside the window too. Okay, let's put this back on. Went back to 30, phantom power on, VeeleiZ, be quiet. So I'm going to switch to the Coda Stealth now. Whoa. Check 1, 2, check, check. All right, so the Coda Stealth is the loudest one. It's pretty loud. I think that might be even more loud, even too much. So that's at 20 dB. So this is maybe I'm closer. Am I a little closer? 20 dB. Okay, maybe that was too close. All right, so 23-ish. That look about right. So there's the Coda Stealth. It provides even more gain than the VeeleiZ. So that's 23, the VeeleiZ was 30, the SM7B by itself was at 50. So let's be quiet. So now I'm going to switch to the Kark Teknik. Now with these box style ones, instead of going directly into the microphone, you're going to need an extra cable. So I have, this is the shortest cable that I own, so it's always good to have the shortest cable possible. So this is going to run from the Kark Teknik into the Rodecaster, and then the same cable is going to run from the mic to the Kark Teknik. Okay, so many things to keep track of. So I'm going to keep boosting this. I've noticed that the box ones tend to be a little quieter So maybe right there, 34, maybe one more, 35, check, 1, 2. That looks pretty good. So there is the Kark Teknik, that's at 35 dB of gain. Comparing it to the microphone without a booster, that's 15 extra dB of gain that you're getting. So let me go ahead and be quiet and we can test the noise floor. I burped, sorry. Okay, let's go ahead and switch over to the Cloudlifter. Okay, there's the Cloudlifter, and it looks pretty similar to the Kark Teknik, maybe a little bit more. Okay, so Cloudlifter at 37 dB. So in terms of just the amount of boost, it goes Cloudlifter would be the quietest, then the Kark Teknik, then the VeeleiZ, then the Coda Stealth. And of course the mic without would be the quietest. And so there we go with the Cloudlifter, and I'll just be quiet and test the noise floor. He was not fully conscious when he passed through the gateway of his house. He was already on the staircase before he recollected the axe. And yet he had a very grave problem before him, to put it back and to escape observation as far as possible in doing so. He was not fully conscious when he passed through the gateway of his house. He was already on the staircase before he recollected the axe. And yet he had a very grave problem before him, to put it back and to escape observation as far as possible in doing so. He was not fully conscious when he passed through the gateway of his house. He was already on the staircase before he recollected the axe. And yet he had a very grave problem before him, to put it back and to escape observation as far as possible in doing so. He was not fully conscious when he passed through the gateway of his house. He was already on the staircase before he recollected the axe. And yet he had a very grave problem before him, to put it back and to escape observation as far as possible in doing so. He was not fully conscious when he passed through the gateway of his house. He was already on the staircase before he recollected the axe. And yet he had a very grave problem before him, to put it back and to escape observation as far as possible in doing so. He was not fully conscious when he passed through the gateway of his house. He was already on the staircase before he recollected the axe. And yet he had a very grave problem before him, to put it back and to escape observation as far as possible in doing so. He was not fully conscious when he passed through the gateway of his house. He was already on the staircase before he recollected the axe. And yet he had a very grave problem before him, to put it back and to escape observation as far as possible in doing so. He was not fully conscious when he passed through the gateway of his house. He was already on the staircase before he recollected the axe. And yet he had a very grave problem before him, to put it back and to escape observation as far as possible in doing so. He was not fully conscious when he passed through the gateway of his house. He was already on the staircase before he recollected the axe. And yet he had a very grave problem before him, to put it back and to escape observation as far as possible in doing so. I really like this. In comparison to the Coda Stealth, it's much smaller. And another really cool thing about this one is you can run these just like the Cloudlifter and the Kark Teknik. If you wanted to use these not directly into your microphone, you could plug 2 XLRs into this just like these and just kind of tuck them out of the way if you wanted to. Another option with the VeeleiZ is plugging this directly into your audio device. You can't do that with the Coda Stealth because this housing that they designed here is too thick. It just doesn't fit into the XLR inputs on the backs of the audio devices. Neither the Rodecaster or the Audio Evo 4. I don't know if that'll be the case for every audio interface, but the 2 that I have, it doesn't fit. I tested the VeeleiZ in both those configurations, and I didn't really notice much difference. I mean, these are designed to go into your microphone, and they look especially, I guess, okay with the SM7B because of the way the XLR is designed in the SM7B. But in other dynamic mics, these will typically go into the back of the microphone, and you might not like how that looks. Probably getting delivery. Sorry, my dogs are going crazy. In which case, again, if you want these, you can still just run them with 2 XLR cables, and you could also try plugging it directly into your interface and see if it really, I don't think it makes much of a difference. I think I had to add a couple extra dB of gain when I had it plugged into the interface, and maybe that's just accounting for the cable run. Another bonus of having this be a little bit smaller than some of the other options, I think the SE Dynamite is actually pretty bulky too, is if you have it on a boom arm, depending on the design of the boom arm, you might have some clearance issues with these bulkier mic boosters. This one just kind of barely clears my Gator Frameworks boom arm, so your results will vary, I guess, depending on what kind of boom arm you're running. I appreciate the fact that they made this a little bit smaller. So you've heard all the samples, you saw the amount of gain, you heard the noise floor. Not going to really give you my conclusions on it. I just wanted to leave it up to you for you to make a decision on which one you thought was the best. So if you have any questions, maybe I'll give you my opinion in the comments or something. Please leave a comment. It's always appreciated. If you like the video, you know, all the YouTube stuff. Thanks for watching, and maybe I'll see you in another video.